So we all can't be out at the same time because it's lockdown. When you're allowed out, you might go in the dog cage, or it might be when you shower once or twice a week. So we communicate through kites and we communicate through fishing line and sign language. You'll see dudes doing all types of sign language and ordering hits and drug plays, cell phones, all types of shit. However, you could feel there was some type of camaraderie for once in the unit. It wasn't this spy versus spy gang shit going on. We all knew we were gonna hit all these chomos. All four of them were gonna pay. It almost became like a military siege. Organizations like the Southsiders, the Bloods, the Crips, some of the white organizations, they all individually were gonna take over a castle, as we called it. You know, doing time, it might sound like a nerd. Oh, they think they're conquering this and that. But reality is, we study so much ancient history, the art of war, you know, Sun Tzu, Machiavelli the Prince, Genghis Khan, all the way to Vlad the Impaler and Attila the Hun. Usually, each organization or people that are down with certain racial organizations, they follow a certain leader or a person from history to be their recruitment tool for what they believe in and how to get people to fall into their indoctrination. But we were doing all types of hidden messages, writing in secret languages, piss, invisible ink, all that. Johnny Cash, who I did about a 10-part series on before, he was in on this. Now, Johnny Cash hated chomos, but what I think he really wanted was the fact that he could just hurt somebody. He was a dude that was all-American football, wrestler, everything. Scholarship in college, was in the University of Miami, got drunk one night at the Hard Rock Cafe and killed somebody. One night cost him the rest of his life, and he couldn't understand it. He couldn't accept it because he wasn't a criminal. Really cool dude, solid, you know, smart, disciplined. You could work out with him. He'll always feed you. But he's also one of those dudes that, like, say you went out, right? You guys were going out partying. He has one drink, and before you know it, he's fighting. He's talking about all the shit he hates in life. One of those type of dudes getting tased and fighting cops. And he just couldn't understand prison because he went from the best schools, being treated like a king, to now being in this underground medieval concrete tomb. And you know, a little while before, he had gotten into a fight with a dude, and while they were going at it, he lifted the dude up and just slammed him on the edge of the bunk and killed him. It was a mutual combat, but still, you know, he got some extra time, but he didn't give a fuck. But then he learned if he's gonna let out his rage and his anger, not to do it on other people. It has to be chomos, because we don't consider them people. So he ended up being my celly, and we work out every day, and we were getting this plan ready, and we were gonna do the siege together. I wanted that dude Rolando, the dude who molested my best friend who ended up killing himself. And coincidentally, Johnny Cash, a few years later, would be found dead. Imagine that. Imagine being the parents of Johnny Cash. Your son can go to any school he wants in the nation, all-American, straight-A student, athletic, handsome, and you find out that he's committed suicide in a prison cell. But if you play, you pay. 5 minutes will cost you the rest of your life. Remember that. I told him how this one was personal, how much this just meant to me that he was doing this. Not that any other chomo or their crimes are any less or any more. They're all horrible and they're all heinous. But this was my friend, and he killed himself because of what this man did. And prior to this, I saw my friend's dad, and coincidentally, the officer told me he knew him, and basically that guy was going to be in the unit. It's funny how things work like that. Some dudes can go out in the day room and chill, make phone calls. Some dudes were on disciplinary confinement where they weren't allowed out their cell for 25 hours a day. These chomos, they weren't in protected custody. They just couldn't house with anybody, and they weren't allowed to be around certain people when they came out to make their phone calls and take their showers or whatnot. I was on the side where we could only shower 3 times a week if we were lucky. Maybe make a phone call once a month. We go in the dog cage, which is considered the yard. It literally is a dog kennel for grown men. You have about 2 or 3 dudes out there, and we just get down, start hitting burpees and push-ups, and we could talk out there. The gun tower's right over us. We was speaking in code, sign language, all types of shit. Southsiders wanted to hit a dude that was Spanish, that was a chomo in there. White boys wanted to hit a white dude, so they were going to get at him. The Bloods, which is a predominantly black organization, wanted to get the black dude. So after talking to the officers and everybody understanding their position, that this is not going to be a game, we're going to get access to them, and we're gonna hit them. There's not gonna be any talking, any playing. It's gonna be pure chaos and violence, because these are the worst of the worst. You don't end up in CM with these chomo charges, rape charges. I mean, the worst of the worst. But one dude had the job to make sure he got the weapons. He was the guy that would serve all the inmates that were behind the door. So everyone had a position in this operation. That's how much we hate these chomos. Nobody got anything out of this. Some dudes did it for the love of violence. Some dudes did it because they were in their race and they had to make it right. And it was me that I just would have did it even if I didn't know this person through my family. Since I did, I wouldn't care if they gave me 50 million years after this. You don't hurt children, period. However, you never think with emotion. This whole scene reminded me of a quote by Mad Dog, an old general. Be polite, be courteous, be respectful, but always have a plan to kill every single person in the room. We were all ready, you know. You never rise to the occasion. You only fall to your level of training. So the dude we called the armory was passing out the weapons as he passed out the trays. The COs were down with the sickness. The day was getting closer. The only thing that was hard was everybody had different levels of when they can come out and not come out. We needed a failure. We needed a distraction to happen in order for it to be just complete chaos. So we got the idea that when it's time to do showers, a chomo would accidentally be let out the cell, knowing he's not allowed to even shower with other inmates. In CM or lockdown units, you go into a cell and shower by yourself, but you're handcuffed, which leaves you vulnerable if there's inmates in the day room or whatnot. Trying to get the chomo back into the cell, he would accidentally hit the auto unlock button. While this is going on, the officer would panic and not be able to hit the lock button as they're trying to put the chomo in there. He'd hit the automatic unlock button where everyone would come out of their cell. And the COs already knew what time it was, but they had to play the part. They already told us we're gonna have to spray y'all, gas y'all, and y'all could have enough time as y'all want in that cell with them. Full on standoff, hostage situation, whatever it may be. He would always show us the charts of these dudes. Pedophile, lewd and lascivious, rape on this woman, a pregnant woman, just heinous shit. Of course I was scared. But let me tell you this, revenge doesn't come twice in life. People could say I'm wrong, but these dudes have been in and out. Some of them still have release dates. My friend killed himself because of what this man did to him. And he's gonna go home before me and do it to another kid. Father told me, man, don't do it. It's not worth it, man. I'm just glad to see you. But when he looked me in my eyes, there was nothing he could tell me. He saw that darkness. This wasn't gonna be a fight. This was gonna be people cleaning house from these chomos. The CEOs hated them because these are the worst of the worst. Doing it to elderly, pregnant women, disabled people. Coincidences happen, and we waited for this. But time doesn't exist, only opportunity. So first dude's going to the shower. Everybody is just laying low, quiet, acting like they're not doing nothing. And that's when click. Hey, he said it again. Hey, I'm not supposed to. And, you know, they both have their cuffs on from their back because that's how you have to get out in these lockdown units. But he can't get the words out. And the CO is panicking. And the CO in the booth is panicking. And he just hits a thing and lets everybody out. And it turns into a straight just battlefield. It's like Braveheart. Everyone's rushing. Our part was downstairs, left cell, 107. We're all strapped. Johnny Cash, I was a little bit nervous because I wanted to mark the guy for life. I didn't want what happened to happen. He's begging when we come in there. Boom, I kick him. There's no time to talk about my friend or nothing like that. I got the blade in my hand because I don't want to stab him. I want to scar him up for life. I'm kicking him, slamming him, beating him. Johnny Cash just picks him up and just slams him, tackles him like Goldberg. We're hearing just people yelling and screaming for their life. Hearing shower slides squeaking all over the floor from the fighting because we're not allowed to have shoes back there. Inmates, they couldn't get out on the automatic lock because they were on the other side. They're pounding on the door. Already knew the officers were going to come. That's when we're going to shut the door and barricade ourselves in there. Cash is just kicking him over and over. Finally, they come in there. We got the door up. We got our head wrapped around with a mask, basically a pillowcase. Bring the camcorder out from like 95, trying to talk us out of the cells. They just start letting loose with the gas, the pepper spray. Shit stains your skin orange, and that's when things got worse.